Why Russian tanker has reversed its course? Is Russia out and US in? What does it mean for our economy? And how India has decided to balance this act? A Russian oil tanker was on its way to India and it turned back mid-sea. No, it's not just a trade delay, it is the geopolitics of the world shifting, and India stands right in the center of it. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we are going to understand that this small incident of a Russian oil tanker taking a U-turn signifies so much for India's domestic economy, India's diplomacy, and also India's balancing act as well as diversification strategy. So let us begin with understanding that what exactly has happened. So there was a tanker carrying almost 7 lakh barrels of crude oil, and that crude oil was supposed to come to Sikka port in Gujarat, but suddenly it turned back and reversed its course and went back to Baltic Sea. So basically a tanker which was carrying almost 7 lakh barrels of Russian crude oil turned back, and this course of turn happened from where it was supposed to reach to Sikka port in Gujarat. It has been redirected to Port Said in Egypt. If we talk about why it has happened, it is most probably because of the fresh US sanctions which have been put on major Russian oil firms. And this incident clearly shows that yes, there is a clear mark, growing influence of the enforcement risk when we are talking about the global oil trade. And this also highlights that when we are using sanctions as a tool to get the way we want, it is working and it has a clear effect on shipping, insurance, and this all will directly affect India's energy security as well. Now let us try to dissect this and understand the all layers that are involved here. Starting with understanding that what is the picture of India's oil dependency. So India at present happens to be the third largest oil importer across the world, and when we are talking about our import dependency, you have to understand as of now, after 2022, when we are looking at 2025, 40% of our dependency is fulfilled from Russian imports. In the situation where the Western world does not want any country to fuel Russia's war economy, we as allies of Russia and also looking after our own strategic autonomy, our own profits, our own sovereignty, and what serves our nation best, we have continued these imports. These imports, the major highlight is the fact that we get that at discounted price and we get to save $15 to $20 per BBL. Now this clearly shows that we have a economic advantage as well. It's not just about being a ally here, and it was this low cost crude oil which had helped refinery margins also, which had helped in extreme control over inflation also, and the exports that we have seen, the refinery exports as well. Now that we have seen that a tanker has taken a U-turn, that means the sanctions, not just on India, we have already been placed on 50% tariff, and now Russian firms are also being targeted by the Western sanctions. So this seems to be working as of now, and this will lead to direct repercussions. Now let us understand these repercussions. First repercussion would be directly faced by the refineries, because these refineries were getting the discount will be taken away, that margin will be taken away, and there will be increased cost pressure. The discounts will go away and that will lead to decline in profitability. Apart from that, because there will be more scrutiny of shadow fleet, that is why the insurance prices will also go high and freight costs will also go high. That means profits are declining and cost will increase. Apart from that, if we are planning to replace Russian crude, then it is going to cost us extra money. So all in all, the cost pressure on the refinery is going to increase and the profits will see a direct hit. Apart from that, supply chain which has consolidated in recent times, it is going to get volatile. How? When we are talking about tankers being rerouted, there will be also financing risks. And state refiners, be it BPCL, be it IOCL, be it HPCL, all of these will be cutting Russian imports. And this has been already seen. If you take the data from June to September of this year, we have already seen the state refiners cutting down 45%. That means all of this is happening. If we are not going to purchase from here, then we have to look from other alternatives, and that will result in supply chain volatility. Apart from these immediate repercussions, another thing that we need to understand that how our domestic economy will be directly impacted. The first thing, inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is the increase in the general price level of a good or commodity over the price. Let's take a very simple example. What was the cost of Maggi in 2005? What was the cost of Maggi in 2015? And what is the cost of Maggi in 2025? I am talking about the same size of packet. The prices kept increasing. That is what is inflation. Now in this situation, because we get to see the discount is going away and we have high crude input cost, that means fuel prices will also increase and that will increase the CPI inflation risk. Apart from that, this is one dimension. Refineries which were exporting, they were also getting margins. Now that margin is going to decline. If the earnings, foreign exchange earnings because of exports, they are going to decline, the demand of rupee is going to decline, it will become weaker and it will also cause fiscal stress. Now this was in terms of economic impact. Let's talk about policy challenges. The government would now have to look into other sources of energy and it also would have to manage the global alignment. So we have to focus on cheap energy, global alignment, look for diversification. That will require new policy alignments. Apart from that, when we are talking about fuel tax revenue, which is almost between 5 to 6 lakh crores annually, that can be also going down if the refiners which are earning, if their profits go down, then the taxes that government is earning from them, that also goes down. So there is a lot at stake when we are talking about repercussions. It is not about our global alignment. That is also in question, we will discuss that. But the impact will be seen. The impact will be on your car, on your scooters, where you are getting the fueling done. And all of this also clearly shows that Russia, yes, it was our ally, it is our ally, but the winds are changing and India is showing movement towards US. When you see in the given graph, it clearly shows after 2022 how dramatically our imports from Russia have grown from 0.2% to 35 to 40%. Now, that clearly highlights that we had no giving into the global pressure and we wanted to do what is best of our economy. But this Russian oil tanker taking a U-turn is saying us a different story. This is showing that we are gradually moving away from Russia. And another thing that points into the fact that we are moving towards US is the rising US oil imports. So if you talk about the numbers, almost 3 lakh BPD of US crude oil has been brought between Jan to June 2025 and it is almost double as compared to last year. It is 50% year on year increase. There has been cleaner, sanction-free supply and it has been guaranteed with long-term stability. And all this is not happening randomly. This is a part of Indo-US strategic synergy where we are partnering for Quad, we are partnering for tech, we are partnering for energy security. And here the logic that is given is the fact that we are just diversifying sources because we gradually want to reduce dependence on Russia because we don't want to put all our eggs in one basket. And this is also helping India to align with what Western energy trade norms are asking for. Now, apart from this, we also need to understand the fact that yes, it is the time when geo-economic dynamics are changing, where the global oil trade is noticing shifts. I'm not just talking about India. Even Russia is looking to diversify its market, where it has been focusing on China and Africa. So it is right on India's end when it is going to strengthen its energy links with US, Gulf and Africa. And US seems like a right choice because it can be an energy supplier, long-term one, as well as a strategic partner. This also shows the diplomatic balancing, that India stood with Russia. India did not budge for a long time this year in favor of Russia. So this might give way to favoring US or standing with US or standing with what we need. So India is navigating between strategic autonomy and global compliance, and this is a balancing act, that we are going to buy where it is cheap, we are going to buy where there is long-term stability, we are going to align with allies, and this is the balancing that India is trying to do. Now, all of these consequences or the changing winds that we have been talking about, they will not just cost us economically, diplomatically, there will be structural adjustments which will be required. For example, refineries will need to reconfigure. That means US crude oil is lighter, Gulf crudes are different. So we need to adapt to these from Russian crude oil. We have to look for long-term contracts because if we want energy security, we want regular supply and we also want sovereignty. So we have to secure proper deals. We would need to look into shipping infrastructure because we would want better insurance prices, we would want better infrastructure in terms of our own tankers and as well as insurance companies. And all of this also talks about energy transition, where we just can't be dependent on oil at this age in time, where we have already crossed the mark of 1.5 degree threshold, which can create havoc for the humanity. In this point of time, we have to look into renewables, biofuels, as well as green hydrogen, and this is where India should further diversify, not just in terms of suppliers of energy, but also the sources of energy as well. So all this clearly shows that cheap Russian oil era is gone because the sanctions have extremely heightened. India is in its diversifying era, be it US, be it Middle East. We are looking for stability and our sovereignty, and this is going to impact a lot for us that we have clearly understood. Now I am going to leave you with a practice question. The answer of this practice question will be explained in the next video. That was all from my side today. You can put down your answers in the comment section. Thank you so much.